police commission meeting yet again. His family is, of course, traumatized by his injuries, but he is very strong in his resolve, and I know that resolve will make his recovery a possibility. On to the discussion of crime in the city of Los Angeles. Total Part 1 crime in the city is down 4.7%. Property crime is down in total 6.8%. We have an increase in violent crime tied to an increase in aggravated assaults, as was widely reported and as I commented on last week. Some of that is due to an increase in domestic violence incidents, which raised to the level of aggravated assault, and some of it is due to the department's more aggressive efforts in accurately coding our aggravated assaults so that they match the UCR definitions precisely. Homicides down 6.8% compared to last year and 13% compared to 2012. Overall gang crime down 11.5%. Shootings in the city are down 12.4%, and that's the number of victims shot. Incidents of shots fired down about 9%. Every one of our bureaus has at least an incremental reduction in Part 1 crime. Incidents of categorical use of force, in other words, serious use of force, are down by police officers in Los Angeles 32% at 251 this year compared to 75 last year. And officer-involved shootings, about which I just commented, are down 30% compared to last year. We've had 21 so far in 2014 as compared to 30 this time in 2013. Our high in the last 4 years was, at this point in the year, was 34 in 2011, and we are at our low for the 4-year period this year. So that's positive news. Traffic collisions are up 2.1% overall in the city of Los Angeles. To give you an idea what that means, we've had over 27,000 total traffic accidents in the city so far this year, as compared to 26,700 last year. Our driving under the influence related, or in other words, our drunken driving related accidents are down 4.7%. Our hit and runs are down 5.3%. And our pedestrian-related accidents are down just over 1%. We're making good progress in our bicycle-involved traffic accidents, and they're down 13%. Department personnel statistics, we have 9,920 Los Angeles police officers. Our civilian staffing is 2,762. We have 421 reserve officers, 372 specialist volunteers, 64 chaplains, and 5,452 cadets in our program currently. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have one public comment card on this item. We have Mr. Herman.
We have
Excuse me.
For the chief.
Go ahead. Use the mic.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. I have sort of a different kind of question, maybe in response to your earlier comments, and then also President Soboroff's comments. I, as well as many, are disturbed and overwhelmed by the violence and death that's occurred locally, nationally, and globally. And I feel like the tension is palpable, and I have a couple of general questions for the chief. What can we do as a community to harmonize relationships between law enforcement and community members, and also what can we do to reduce racial tensions in our community? I mean, both locally, most importantly, but also nationally.
Well, of course, that is the huge question of the day, and I think that Los Angeles, because of its troubled history, has had a lot of experience in this matter, and I think that the way you minimize racial tensions, particularly between the police force and the community it serves, is number one, to have a police force that reflects its community, not only in its makeup, but also in its feeling about the city of Los Angeles or the city that you police. I think you have to have a strong connection. That connection can be made in a number of ways. But the most important way to make that connection is every day. You have to have programs and structures in place so that those connections are made. I think our senior lead officer program, our basic car program, the strength of our area captains and their connections to their communities, they make these inroads every day. You know, I use this term all the time. I know all of you have heard me use it. You have to put money in the bank of trust. You have to build trust every day in all the different things that you do. Because police work is about controversy. Police work is about conflict. We will never have a police force that is free of those two things. It's just not possible in a society like the one that we police. So you have to have systems in place that give people faith in your ability to not only generally do the right thing, but to investigate incidents where you may not have done the right thing, and to be frank about those results. So the police commission is a huge part of that. Civilian oversight is a huge piece of that. The Office of the Inspector General is a huge piece of that. A strong police union that holds my feet to the fire to support our employees. Huge piece of that. You need a collaboration that is about not only transparency but about partnerships. And if you, so this is not an easy answer. You know, I wish I had a two-word answer for you, but
Very helpful.
but it
I wanted to hear your thoughts.
but it is something that you got to work on every day. And every time we have an incident, such as the Ford shooting or any other shooting, you know, we work on that bank of trust, and we try to add to it in times of conflict, but sometimes you draw down on it, and that is the nature of policing a city as dynamic as this one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please let the record reflect Commissioner Figueroa Villa is now present. We will go to the comment card.
Comments? Is there any comments? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our comment card, Mr. Herman.
Good morning, and residents of Los Angeles, all those of you listening in. We're all about facts, and we're all about statements of, first of all, let's recognize our new chief of police. Now to city business. City business is not an idea of just implementing and troubleshooting. It's a process of educating the workforce, situating the workforce to know what the individual rights of civilians and those who fall under MOUs, that they have a strategy and not a cop-out. Steve, you pointed out a certain point of that element, but the element is about educating and forwarding Chief Beck with the resources to educate the rank and file to improve. That's how we solve problems in LA. That's how we solve all problems within the state of California. If not, we become the issue of Ferguson. We become the issue of New York retaliation. And I'm not going to talk about the racial element of the problems. It's global. We see it on a timely basis. That's one race altercating another. And why? Because we always tend to bring it up on the issue of race. It's not race. It's education. Because our school systems, especially here in California, in LAUSD, in Los Angeles, with the school board, has failed. And now they're recognizing their failure and slowly, like an inchworm, inching its way to the progress of what we need, education. So let's have a sovereignty of intelligence to educate and provide the rank and file with the needed resources and financial gains. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on item number 3, the report of the Executive Director, Mr. T. Fank.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. Just a very brief item for the Department of Public's information. The Commission will not meet on the Tuesday after Labor Day, which is September 2nd. So there will be a meeting next week, and then following that, the next meeting will be on September 9th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. And we do have one comment card. We have Mr. Herman.
I won't waste too much business here, folks. We're talking about a report on the executive directors. As we heard earlier, one African American hired for the LAPD officers in file and rank.
Mr. Herman, you're speaking on the report of the executive director, so if you can limit your comments to Mr. T. Fank's report, that would be appropriate. Thank you.
Great. So we're talking about future agenda items pending these projects. And it's going to fall into the item later on under your agenda item here, which I find most appropriate under 7, for the information for the approval to minimize the time required for handling routine matters in order to permit additional time to be spent on more significant matters, such as the matter of importance for LA business. And again, at the request of all members of the public and of this board, if we, the members of the general public, have submitted a request to speak on a subject, we shall. Again, California, Senate ruling 54950, 54963, the Brown Act. Thank you. Save your time.
Item number 4 on the agenda is the report of the Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante.
Commissioners, just one brief item. Tonight, my staff and I will be attending a community meeting in Newton Division area at Paradise Baptist Church with department personnel regarding an OIS that occurred in the area and meeting with various community members and stakeholders. I believe that meeting starts at 7 and is about to go about an hour and a half, I believe, concluding about 9:30 p.m. And those are my comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 5 consists of information items and filed items relative to noise variances and special event permits submitted for the period ending August 15, 2014. Item number 6, presentations. Do we have any presentations?
Not today.
Thank you. Item number 7 is the consent agenda items. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion 7A through 7F? And we do have one comment card on 7F.
No comment other than very thankful for the donors in ENF.
I move approval of items 7A through E.
Second.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
And our one comment card for 7F, Mr. Herman.
Let us be thankful upon this request made by the United States Department of Justice, provided by the Marshal Services. We've received $30,000 for a Dodge Caravan, year 2014. And what about the radio and storage lock boxes valued at $30,000? It is something exceptionally welcome. Exceptionally welcome. We need more provisions and adequate services by independent businesses to provide for our fellow officers on rank and file so that they can use these resources for the safety of the public. All of you in Angelinos, all of you in Los Angeles, this is a show of support dated August 22nd for 2014, which will be heard on the recommendations by the mayor and the city council to receive from this department's report. So I say, hoorah. Very well. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on item.
We have
Move
to,
approval of item 7F.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are now on item number 8, regular agenda items. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special 8A through 8D?
I'd be interested in hearing item 8B. Move approval of items 8A, C, and D.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners. Right now before you, I have my Assistant Inspector General, Jim Willis. Take a seat. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim,
Sit down.
welcome.
Commissioners, this report, in September 2013, an individual was taken into custody and later died of medical complications. In April 2014, a gunman entered into a police station and started shooting at officers. Both of these cases were captured partially by video, and both of them prompted my office, myself, to direct my team of investigators to go to the various 21 divisions and start examining the different stations to see if there were any weaknesses in the video camera placement or anything else in that area that could be examined. And the two things driving the IG's assessment was officer safety. And we were concerned from the April 2014 incident that if there were similar assaults or similar attacks on a police station, the placement of cameras and appropriate security measures would give officers the vital extra time necessary to defend themselves. And in the case of actually prosecuting an individual who did participate in such attack, would capture and provide prosecutors with that useful information. We were also concerned with community safety. Individuals that are brought into the station for booking and processing or for limited detention, we were concerned that were there sufficient video coverage in these stations to ensure that if there was an incident that we'd have the necessary video to determine if there was misconduct or if there was some other medical reason or other issue involving a person that was temporarily taken into custody. So when we reviewed the cameras in the 21 different divisions, we found a variety of problems with the cameras, as we've detailed in the report, and we have on identifying these issues, we immediately contacted the department and been working closely with them to resolve this issue. We've provided them a detailed list of the deficiencies that were division-specific. We list out in our report a series of recommendations, but I think there's two things that are worth noting in our report. The first one is that the department on several occasions has tried to obtain additional funding in order to cure some of these problems, and I believe it's making it a priority and trying again. As detailed in our report, several years they've tried to get that funding necessary to repair some of these issues. The other non-budgetary issues, the department has put together a high-level working group in which we're a part of. We've already met once with. I'm confident that through that working group we'll be able to resolve many of the issues and at least flag for the commission the issues that require the outside assistance from the city and from the mayor in order to remedy. Subject to any questions you may have, I have my team sitting at the table and I'm available for questioning.
Well, I thought this report was very helpful, and I'm sure the department agrees, identifying what appear to be really significant issues, and I'm glad to hear that there's been diligent follow-up. I was just curious to know if the department also had an internal audit regarding the same subject area, the video cameras.
Yes, Sandy Jo MacArthur, Office of Administrative Services. The day after the incident that brought the Inspector General also out to inspect, our facilities management team started to do an assessment, not just on cameras, but on security for all 21 geographic stations as well as the 4 traffic stations. And that's in progress right now. So that's why the working group is very helpful. Several of the things that we have identified were the same things that the Inspector General identified. So working together is going to be helpful. Additionally, as early as last week, or as late as last week, Office of Operations went out and did an inspection also. They're starting to do spot inspections on things that we think we have already corrected, like propping doors and things like that. So we're working collaboratively with Office of Operations, Facilities Management, and one of the things that we did identify after the Inspector General's report is that we were doing some of this in silos. So Facilities Management was managing cameras and budget and ITB historically has not been part of the process. So we now are bringing all of this together, and we're bringing the budgetary items underneath ITB, because they're the individuals who really handle the majority of the cameras in the department, including in-car video, et cetera. So we found some shortfallings in terms of our just structural organizationally, and we fixed those immediately. A few other things that we, because of our early meeting with the Inspector General, we've already created a training program out there and working with Office of Operations to ensure that multiple supervisors in each division are being trained. We're looking at also updating protocols. The original safety report that was brought to our attention was also brought to our attention that is very outdated. And the original safety report that we were supposed to be following was really primarily for the station facility security, and we've come a long way since then through the consent decree, et cetera. So we concur with the recommendations of the Inspector General, and we hope, working with them on our team, we'll be able to get these things resolved very quickly, other than the budgetary issue. But we're being as creative as we can and working closely with ITB on that, and now with my budget team as well. We're hoping to be able to put that in perspective in terms of priority when we go across the street with the budget. But when funds do come available, we've been able to piecemeal some of this together. So those are some of the highlights of what we've found working with the Inspector General and working with our first meeting with our team.
Has there been a timeline created for implementation of each of the recommendations and also the protocol revamping that you mentioned? Or sometimes that can help to...
Let's do the first two questions. The overall timeline will be developed hopefully in our second meeting, because we'll have an understanding of where we're at right now. I just had ITB do an assessment on the budgetary issues, and so much of this is being driven by budget. That piece of the timeline is going to be very, very fluid. But there are several things that we've actually already completed and things that are in progress. We have the training right now. It should be being approved very quickly down in in police training and education. And that will be a piece that we can roll out rather quickly. So we'll have a variety of timelines, and that's going to be what our working group is going to be putting together. Just as long as you're aware that the budgetary issue is that's a very fluid piece.
And Commissioner, if I can just add too, I mean, one of the issues that this inspection identified, and I think one of the things that Sandy Jo and the department have done to kind of rectify this, is that, as she indicated, you had several people that were doing things separate and alone, and there wasn't kind of a larger way of putting this issue together and having all stakeholders available to kind of unravel some of these issues. And I think that these working groups are going to be sufficient to handle where cameras should go and how things should be retained. But at the end of the day, as Chief MacArthur said, it's still going to come down to, a lot of this is still going to come down to money. And it's going to come down to whether the city council and the mayor's office and the different people with the appropriating powers are going to be able to provide the department the necessary funds to actually rectify this. But all the non-budgetary issues, all of the identifying problem areas and issues within the different divisions and what needs to be rectified, I think the working group is going to be able to work through that. But I just want the commission to have kind of a realistic expectation that some of it's going to require a push for across the street.
Mr. Saltzman?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple comments as well. I first want to thank the Inspector General for the report and the department for the substantive response and agreement with the recommendations. I think that's very helpful, and I think we're moving in the right direction. Also wanted to second the comments of the Inspector General about the two different things going on here. One having to do with officer safety, which is clearly of great significance here. And the second having to do with, as with on body cameras and cameras in the vehicles, not only do the cameras help us figure out about potential misconduct, they also, as the cameras in the cars do quite often, help us see that there was not, in fact, misconduct, that, in fact, the officers' reactions were appropriate and in policy. And so, as with the cameras in the cars, I believe these cameras will also be very helpful to the department, to the officers, and to reducing the city's liability when there are claims about something that's happened in the stations, and I think that's quite important. I do want to also point out, I believe the Inspector General made the point, but I think it's worth emphasizing that there are at least two different sets of issues here. One clearly involves the budget and requires significant financial resources, but there are also quite a few things here which are not budgetary issues. And I think it's important that we all agree that the department can move forward expeditiously on the non-budgetary issues while we are working and making plans on the ones which will require the additional resources. And in that vein, I'd like to follow up Commissioner Kim's question and comment. I think when we approve this item on the assumption we will approve it today, that we ought to ask the department to report back to us in 2 months on the progress with essentially two separate plans. One would be the issues that are budgetarily related and what the plans are there, and then the ones that do not have a budgetary impact and what the plans, and in fact at that point perhaps what the progress has been. And finally, a discussion I had this morning with Chief MacArthur, President Soboroff has suggested that he and I be designated as liaisons for the Commission on this issue to meet with Chief MacArthur and Inspector General and the working group as you see fit, so that between now and 2 months from now, the two of us can be kept up to date and perhaps assist in some of the budgetary issues.
Good. I like it. We got a problem. Everybody isn't saying what everybody else should be doing. Everybody's saying what they can do to help. One of the issues is, welcome to the real world. Welcome to big city economics. There's not enough money to pay for everything. And there won't be. So what we have to do is prioritize and make big, impossible things into small, doable things, step by step. So what you've done here, I think it's, we got a problem. Everybody walking into a police station in Los Angeles should consider themselves on video. Every single person, and we need to make that happen. And in a lot of places, it does already. But you've done it you've discussed this in a positive way, in a non-defensive way, and we have some issues, and they are budgetary, and you have to weigh those, and there are a whole bunch of other priorities we have as well. So we'll just have to break these into the most important, second, the 1 through 10 group, and go at them. So I like what I hear. This is a police department that I'm proud of.
If there's no public comment, I move approval of item 8B, the Office of Inspector General's review of the department's video camera system, with the addition that we have the department report back to us in 2 months on the progress and plans in this area.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, we are now at item number 9, public comment. We have 6 public comment cards.
We want you guys to know that our cameras work really well in here, so if you need to see this again, you can watch it on City TV.
We will begin with Mark Cronin, followed by Patty Beers and Ryan Wood.
Welcome, Mark.
Thanks, sir. Mark Cronin, Director at the Los Angeles Police Protective League. Our disciplinary system is broken. The Los Angeles Police Protective League has known this for a long time. Over the last few years, we have filed a half dozen lawsuits in an effort to correct the problem. We were forced to take this path simply because talking to the department or its risk manager has been futile. After 5 months of negotiations with the department, we have recognized that change will only come from either outside LAPD management or from those above LAPD management. During our dialogue with officers, we have concluded that inadequate wages was second to the deep-seated anger and resentment within the rank and file, most of which was over the unfair disciplinary system imposed on them. These officers nor the League are seeking leniency when punishment is due, nor is anyone trying to protect bad cops or escape justice. On the contrary, the League is trying to protect good cops from unfair, arbitrary, and unequal treatment. Officers who risk their lives every day and who are often forced to make split-second life and death decisions deserve to be allowed to defend themselves. When accused of misconduct, they warrant a fair and neutral system. They deserve impartial hearings. They want accessibility to the records of the investigation against them, including exculpatory information. They deserve a system that is not rigged or even perceived to be rigged against them. In short, they are demanding the same fair treatment that all Americans are entitled to and wish only to be treated as they are expected to treat others. The Police Commission has the ability to address this problem. I'm asking for the direction from the Inspector General's office, as well as assistance in revising the disciplinary system to effectively reinforce the checks and balances demanded by our form of government. I will be following up with each one of you and the Inspector General's office. I'd like to collaboratively work with you in actually coming up with something that we can all trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Patty Beers.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Chief Beck, I'm here to talk to you as a mother of an adult son with special needs. Coming with that empathy in my heart for the mother of Azelle Ford and the family members that I've been spending time with in this past tragic week. I want to remind you that you're a human, and all of these police officers here are humans. And from that perspective of humanity, I've come here today to demand that LAPD have training for all of the police officers on how to deal with people with special needs, disabilities, and mental illnesses. Because yes, we know, it's obvious that Black and brown young men are very much more high likely to be killed and murdered unjustly by not only LAPD, but all across the country, with all these departments trained in Israel, treating citizens like we're enemy combatants. And we need to turn that whole attitude around and realize that these are people with disabilities, with developmental delays, with mental illnesses, handicaps. These are human beings, and from that point of view of humanity, I am demanding that LAPD train all of the officers on how to deal with people with mental illnesses and disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan Wood, followed by Stephanie Cole-Waitman and Mr. Herman.
Morning, sir.
Morning. Good morning. My voice is a little
Got some water.
done for. It wouldn't really help. I've been yelling the past few days. Please forgive me if I'm being repetitious to any topics that have been acknowledged already this morning, but I do want to make it clear that justice and a transparent due process is what the public is seeking. Azelle Ford, Omar Abrego were just this month, August, but there have been countless others who passed away due to police bullets, and that's what's catalyzed myself and others to take a closer look. You know, it's beyond the time for an apology. We want some kind of piercing justice. We have utmost desire to remain peaceful in our efforts, granting the ideal that police are selected through a vigorous process. I want to say congratulations to those 16 that were just added to the staff. But everybody doesn't believe that. The citizens of Los Angeles County, who you've been tasked to protect and serve, deserve to be able to trust you to do just that, you know. The city is diverse. Every person deserves equal service. Those old racist mindsets that are there, they're expired, and fresh mentality is desired for all of us who wake up every day in this great land. Every officer has a responsibility to help sift out those bad eggs, and even notice when an officer is at that tipping point to make the necessary corrections for the greater good. Stop the unjust killings and the racist cops, among others who are going to continue that annoyance and keep checking in to make sure that everything goes right and smoothly, even though we really shouldn't have to. we want you guys to look at yourselves, you know, and the self-respect of the community and the police department. And what I wanted to know today, and especially to you, Mr. Bustamante, who will be at Paradise Baptist Church later today, is what can you give us to let us know that, like, those unnamed officers from the Newton unit on 3400 South Central are really investigating formal charges brought against the ones who are pulling the triggers? Why shot fired and not arrest? And even when they're alone? And which ideas are really going to help foster that harmony between the public and the police?
Thank you, sir.
Stephanie Cole Whiteman.
Hello, I address the President, Mr. Steve Soboroff, and I also address Chief of Police Beck. My name is Stephanie Cole Waitman. I'm a cancer and a kidney failure patient. I'm the sole birth child of my only living relative, my mother, Val Cole, age 95, who suffers severe dementia. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a productive member of our society. I'm a taxpayer and a property owner. I'm reporting your commission today from January 23rd, 2012 to present tense. I've been forced to endure severe, serious, illegal harassment, both verbal and physical abuse by the West Division of LAPD. Yes, I was grabbed by the arm. No search warrant, no probable cause, false 911 calls by 3 ex-neighbors of my 95-year-old mother, who's blind legally and non-ambulatory, have taken over her home and her life. This was all caused by several false 911 calls. I had 6 officers, no search warrant, no court order, no corroborating witnesses, nothing. Jump on January 23rd, 2012, jump over my 7-foot iron lock gate to my property, invade my whole home. In addition, I've reported to Chief Beck, I've reported to Assistant Inspector General Mr. Kevin Rogan, all the way to the headquarters of the FBI, Washington, D.C. I've made 5 documented reports that were recorded with the FBI headquarters. Motive of these 3 ex-neighbors, non-related, I'm the sole birth child of my mother, is for the estate. My father is deceased. I name the detectives that have brutalized me and harassed me for the last 3 years up until present tense, that have not been reprimanded, that have not had any disciplinary action taken. I've met with 3 Detective 2's Internal Affairs of...
Thank you.
Mr. Herman.
Thank you.
Members of the public, I cannot tie into the first speaker, but he's absolutely right. It is at this point that this commission must go to City Hall and direct that 15-member council that we need a budget. Again, I emphasize we need a budget to suffice the need and the issues revolving our fellow officers of LAPD, rank and file. You must ask the mayor to come up with some budgetary that meets their needs. From 2010 to 2000 present, you have not done one blank thing to influence and demand for our officers on rank and file. In addition, on a subject that touches my heart the most, I being a person knowing what this woman here was speaking about, her child, and the population of people who are adversely affected by your unkindness to educate this society about people with disabilities, whether they're mental, whether they're visual, or whether the impairment's not even seen. We cannot continue to injure, hurt, and sacrifice a civilian's life for ignorance of not learning what a disability in the state of California is. I demand action by this Department of LAPD to do an internal, progressive, intelligent thing for the public, and that is this, as I demand on behalf of all of you as Batman, educate your departments.
Thank you.
And the final two comment cards are William Watkins and Huffnagel 4.
Welcome.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice to be back, and it's a real comfortable meeting today and a great meeting. I appreciate it very much. I have water in, and it seems like that's been calmed down, the rule on us bringing water in. I really, from my heart, appreciate it. I'm not as healthy as maybe as I look. I overdosed twice. I had a bad run. I started drinking on my dad's lap when I was 5 and with friends at 12 and blacking out by 14. And just had a bad run in life and missed the spring of my life, actually. I just missed it. I'm 42 now. I look back and I want to help young people not do what I do. I have a group called the Law Dragons. I'm very excited to start to put out there rec centers. I have a date today at Rose Hill Rec at 3 o'clock to work with the young people there. And I do pledge to spend $25 to $32 on a website. Try to get lawdragons.com later today, I hope. And going forward, I have a dragon suit and hand puppets. I teach law to 5-year-olds and up. As I said, I drank alcohol on my dad's lap when I was 5. I do believe that's a really neat way to begin to enforce laws, to go way down there, to go way down to the youngs. Especially, I live near El Sereno. It's a high graffiti zone, high misdemeanor law zone. And a lot of those young people, they just have not been directed the right way, and I hope my Law Dragons program can help with that. Thanks so much for the comments so far. They're right on the ball for me, the disabled people, the better training. Please, Commission, I emailed you last night, and continue to look at your exam format and how you instruct LAPD officers and how you take them in. I'm twice failed. Chief Beck knows, made a big deal of it once upon a time, but a high honors graduate from UCSB, and I failed your tests, got 65 twice, and you didn't tell me why. So that has to be changed. Thanks.
Thank you. Welcome.
Well, hi. I'm here to report back, and I'll be here every week because this is an issue that for enforcement and for the public. I was disturbed 2 weeks ago when I brought in the fact that we have a major RICO crime here in Los Angeles, which cost people their marriages, they lost their homes. And it's because nobody understood that stealing loans is a reality. It can happen. And the police had an investigator call me right away. She was very thorough. We spent hours on the phone, and the case is being moved on. Lance Anderson, who is the president of Novation, prior president of Novastar, actually marketed to brokers here in Los Angeles. Laguna Beach Financial, we have proof and how the crime was done. The brokers canceled the loans without telling the homeowners. Homeowners lost their homes and don't even know that their loan was stolen by Novastar and the brokers that they had. They went in, canceled, and because of the way the FDIC is set up, homeowners aren't told, your broker canceled your loan. And I can tell you, I was disturbed because it was a Kardashian media event about a horse last week. And not one question about something very serious that the police is taking care of now. And I am working with them, and this investigation will reveal RICO activity of millions of dollars and homes lost to people. And I thank you for your good job. One meeting here, and you put me right in the system. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is the final comment card. We will now go to item number 10, closed session. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A, 1, 2, and 3 in accordance with Government Code 54957.
It's a little messy, man. Move it. Make sure. Oh, snap. Marcel, come on.
Hands up, drop the cat. We got suspects running northbound. Vandalist suspect running northbound. Get your hands all right. Get your hands up all right. Get your hands off of here. Spread your feet.
All right, let's put him on the
Good. Just have your hand in your back. Watch your head.
Come on, man.
What it is, my name's Shy, Miss Fly, if you nasty. I'm a superstar, baby, ask about me.
As a business owner, how it affects me is it really puts a knife in the heart of somebody that has worked so hard in a business to create something positive for a community and then have to deal with a tag that'll be there forever unless money is spent to correct it.
If you can look at some of our designs here at the club, this is just one example of what we can do with the art of graffiti. If you take it and you exploit it through the negative sense, where there's tagging crews, disrespect the community and disrespect others and try to take over a neighborhood or something like that, I think that's negative. I think it's rude, and it shouldn't happen.
The impact that graffiti has on a specific community is it instills fear among the residents. In addition, it doesn't look good. It looks horrible in the community, and if we can get the message out to the taggers out in our community and let them know how much of an impact it has on residents, schools, businesses, police officers, it has a tremendous negative impact on the community. So we need to get them to realize that and try to find other means to do graffiti.
Sure, we can paint out your tags, we can paint out the graffiti, but the energy that it takes to build a business in a community is so much. So when you tag somebody's building, you're really hurting the person behind it, and you need to know that.
You can make it to where it's controlled and people can admire it and love it and see to it that it is an actual art and it's not negative.
You know what I always tell kids when I arrest them for vandalism and graffiti? I always ask them, is there anything that you have that means something to you, whether it be an iPod, your room, something that you value and love? And how would you feel if we caught you tagging and we went in and decided, okay, well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and tag and destroy your property that you've either worked hard for, gotten a good grade to earn, something like that. How would you feel if we went and just tore your room apart and destroyed it, graffitied all over your room, on your property? How would that make you feel? And I put it back on them. And then a lot of times they can kind of, develop an understanding in their mind of what you're actually talking about and what kind of impact it's having. Starting off in tagging sometimes leads to marijuana use, drug use, hanging out with gang members, and it just, from then on, drinking, and then it just leads into all types of criminal activity. So it's kind of a little gateway onto violent crimes.
It really makes me feel sad that kids have to do graffiti, especially gangs. You have to write on the wall. So for someone to know that they were there, it makes no sense. It just gets everybody in trouble.
Yeah, it makes it look bad. I mean, you're right there trying to represent your own city, St. Peter, but then in the other case, you're making it look bad, like it's a really bad city, what are you going to get out of it? People knowing your name, and what happens if you get caught? You're going to get a ticket and fined, stuff like that. Just go to court and then have a bad record. It's no good thing.
In January of 2006, the LAPD Harbor Division, under the direction of Captain McNamara, started this Teen Police Advisory Board. And what it did is we partnered with the Los Angeles Harbor Boys and Girls Club and brought the members, specifically the teenagers,